Hello, it is day 44 of 90 of my video challenge, and I am going to speak briefly about tomorrow, the big day, Caucus 2020. Nevada is up, first in the West. And I am so excited about this process. However, I do wish that it was just a regular primary. It would be a lot more convenient, but it's not. So I spoke about this a little bit last night. I'm going to speak a little bit about it today because I really want people to get out and vote. I see my cousin is watching. Hi, Rudine. Have not heard from you in forever. I hope all is well wherever you are in the world at this time. I spoke last night at my Toastmasters Club about caucusing. I really am one that wishes everybody just had to vote. I wish we had compulsory voting. Everybody comes to the table, votes, and let the chips fall where they may. But that's not how we have it. We have choice here. There are countries where you actually have to vote or get fined. We're not there yet as a society, but I think we need to be. So anyhow, if you are a registered Democrat or if you want to register to be a Democrat, you can go on down to your local caucus polling station tomorrow and participate in the caucus. And I ask everyone to pack your patience because I don't know how the situation will play out at every polling station, but it is not as simple as going in, pulling a lever, and leaving. There is a lot of discussion that takes place. There's a lot of trying to convince people to get to one side or another, depending on who you were initially voting for. And if your initial vote is for someone that's considered viable, and I really hate that word, but if your initial vote is for what they call a viable candidate, someone that has more than a certain percentage needed to get delegates, then you can just up and leave and go on about your day. If you're voting for someone that doesn't have a lot of support, then you're going to have to make some other decisions if your candidate's not viable. So I just ask people that you really need to go tomorrow packing your patience. You really need to go tonight online. Make sure that your information is correct with the Nevada Secretary of State. Check your address. Double check. Make sure that your polling place is correct, that you know where your polling place is, that you know how to get there. Mine's is a high school that I've never seen or been to or passed by before. So I'm glad that I went and I looked to see where I need to go. The doors are supposed to open at 10 o'clock tomorrow, and the caucusing is officially supposed to start at noon. As long as you are in line to get in the door tomorrow, they are supposed to let you in. But again, this is not stand in line, go up to a booth, pull a lever, and leave. You're going to all go into a room. It's supposed to be very transparent. Supposed to be, and you will go to your dedicated section for whoever you are initially supporting. If you're supporting one of the heavy hitters, then those will likely be seen as viable candidates depending on how many people from your precinct are in that corner. If you are voting for one of the lesser known or lesser supported candidates and you're in that corner and they're tallying up all the votes and your candidate's not viable, then you will have people from other groups saying, well, hey, these are the great things about Biden. These are the great things about Warren. These are the great things about whoever. So I do encourage everyone to stay to the end of the process, regardless of how long that process takes, because it's not just about picking your choice for nominee, but there also may be some local or state business handled at that time, and you don't want to miss that. And that's also where people put their hat in the ring if you want to be a delegate and possibly attend the DNC or some other Democratic functions. So if going further in the political realm is in your dream or in your sights, then you want to hang out to the end. That's the mistake I made before. I could have, like 10 years ago or so, when I was living in Texas, I kind of went through this, and I got screwed out of possibly being a delegate for Hillary Clinton because I was one of the few supporters, and they were like, okay, we're done. And then after I left, like, they handled all that extra stuff I didn't realize was happening. So stay till the end if you want to go further in politics, or you really want to be a part of politics. You want to hear everything that's going on. Now, I never tell anyone who to vote for, but I have always said that you need to have your own ideals, your own list of important issues in your mind that you're committed to. And then you need to look at each candidate and see whose platform closely aligns with yours. That's how I truly believe candidates should be chosen. And between yesterday and today, I've really been tested. I've been very unsettled. As many of you know, I've been a Warren supporter for years. I mean, you could probably find pictures of me on the internet, like behind her on stage holding signs. And I've really been a Warren supporter for years. But right now, that's not completely where my heart is. As many of you also know, I went to Minneapolis this past August and joined Al Gore's Climate Reality Project, and am now a climate leader, climate ambassador, trying to get out there and talk about climate change. And that is a very huge, important to me. Having received all the information, heard from top scientists in the world, hearing from top leaders in this country, mayors, governors, Al Gore himself, you know, the reality of where our climate crisis is daunting. And quite honestly, you know, every candidate has a plan for some kind of climate change, and that's good. We definitely need that, but we need it really to be a front-running issue. And honestly, for me, like, anyone who's talking about the great things that they're going to do by 2050 has really missed the mark. And I won't sit here and get overly dramatic, but the truth is we might not have till 2050. Like, this is a true crisis that we're in. And, you know, we need drastic change by 2030, you know, not 2050. I mean, we have 3 jet streams going. Our climate is adversely affected by all of the waste that we're putting into the environment. The ozone layer is grossly damaged. You know, and there's so many resources that we have available, but we're not making a big push to educate people and really mandate that people make those changes. And I talk about it quite a bit. I've given speeches about it. I've talked on these videos about it every now and then. And, you know, I'll go through some things again, you know, on that basic grassroots level, what we all can do. We all can recycle. That's one of the easiest things that we can do to make an impact, to reduce the waste. And we're running out of landfill room, so we need to reduce the waste. The oceans are damaged, so we need to take waste out of them. If you can afford to put solar panels on your home, that's always a great idea. If you can afford to have an electric car, that's an amazing idea. Take the emissions out of the environment, because that is what is ruining our ozone layer. And then on a larger scale, you need to be out there encouraging your city, your county, your state officials. Make sure that they are mandating plans to make your city and your local area safer and more efficient. Make sure that every new building that's going up in town is sustainable. Making sure that, you know, especially if you're in one of those areas like a sister city or, you know, sister states, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, all of those things that are close. You know, if you live in, there's a lot of people who live in Pennsylvania and they drive to New Jersey. There's a lot of people who live in St. Paul and they commute to Minneapolis. When you have those things going on a regular basis, you can't look at your little city or town as an individual. You have to work with your neighboring city or state. And Minneapolis, St. Paul has set a great blueprint on how that can work so beautifully. It doesn't make sense for everybody in St. Paul to run out and get an electric car and then drive it to Minneapolis for work, and there's no way to charge the car. So cities have to work together to make sure that it's a combined effort. And you need to be talking to your council members to see what are the plans for this city, for our region, to make sure that our lakes are clean, to make sure that we are working with our neighbors so that we are all putting in on making the environment, on healing the environment, healing our climate, making it a better world, so that, every time I see somebody who's pregnant, I'm like, I don't know what you're bringing your kids into, and I don't know what world they're going to have by the time they're a teenager, if they have one. It really is that daunting. And right now we're living under an administration that, we have a president who is reducing or defunding some of our biggest agencies that are our biggest helps, like the EPA and the FDA and all of these people who have the knowledge and the research. He has mandated that scientists cannot say the term climate change around him. digging his head in the sand and refusing to address the issue at all, to me, that is environmental terrorism. I mean, he is really putting us in such a spot where he's just like leading us into a burning building, essentially, withdrawing us from the Paris Agreement, stopping us from working with the rest of the world on trying to heal the climate. And it is a world effort. It's a world view. The world needs to be healed, and we have to work together with world leaders to fix it. And the saddest thing is we see the most damage done to the people who have the least carbon footprint. We see the islands being washed away. We see, Alaska, which isn't that heavily populated, losing icebergs. I just talked to a few people today in New Zealand. New Zealand is normally so lush and so green and so rainy and almost rainforest-like, and they hadn't had rain in about 45 days. They got rain today, and they're all like doing a rain dance, like, oh, thank God, because New Zealand's not getting rain for, weeks and weeks on end. It's a crisis. It's a global crisis. So say all that to say that is my top issue right now. I didn't come on here for like a rant on climate change, but people need to hear it, and people need to think about what they can do as far as their part to make our society better, because it really does take everybody doing everything you can every day to try to make this society and climate better and heal the damage that we've done, the damage that's been done from coal mines, when coal mines were big, and, everything that we've continuously put into the environment, it cleans itself at a very slow rate. So all of this is built up over time. And that's why it takes drastic measures, because there is a cycle of several years to clean the ozone layer. So, even saying that we have a hard deadline of like 11 years, which is what a lot of scientists have said, we don't even know if we can make enough changes to make a dent in that and pull back the harm that we've done. But we have to try, just like, when they say, you see a fire, fight the fire till you can't fight anymore. You don't just sit there and let it burn, and try to, try to tame it. You try to rein it in. So that's where I am. That's always been my number one issue. So I say that to say that I have made the very tough decision to stand with Tom Steyer tomorrow, because from day one, for the past couple years, actually, climate change has always been his message. It's always been his mantra. It's always been the forefront of his platform. And he does have drastic plans for reducing emissions, sustainable buildings, working with the world, getting back into the Paris Agreement. Like he has said from day one, he is going to declare a climate emergency and start trying to heal our climate. And that's very important to me. So I'm going to stand with Tom Steyer. It's almost symbolic in nature because he doesn't have the traction. And that's one thing that really aggravates me. As much as we talk about politics, as much as we talk about things are rigged, the voting is rigged, whatever. People make all these excuses of why they don't vote, they won't vote, they don't trust the voting, or they say, it's such a popularity contest or whatever. It doesn't have to be. What it is up to us. If you're hopeless about it, that's you. That's on you, because nothing stops you from going to the poll. When you have half of America voting, that's a problem. So the system is what we make it. You have to put into it to get anything out of it. And it takes talking to your neighbors and taking bus loads, taking your church members down there and really relaying the importance of voting, not just sitting home and doing nothing about it. And when you say you don't want it to be a popularity contest, that's also on us. I wish that we were in a place as a nation where we could confidently vote for someone who might not have the name recognition. I don't think Tom Steyer is doing bad because he has bad policies or ideals. People just don't know his name and they're not really supporting him. Or he's not out there calling people names and, he's actually focused on the issues. He's focused on what we need and he's focused on what he's going to do. And people don't really know who he is, so they're not really supporting him. But I wish that we were at a place as a society where we could vote for an independent, or we could vote for a lesser name and stand strong in that. Unfortunately, we're not there, and that's why I said my vote tomorrow is pretty much going to be symbolic. Obviously, Tom Steyer doesn't have a lot of support. That's why he wasn't on the debate stage a couple of days ago. He didn't have the 12 or 15% of the poll rankings that he needed to get on the stage, and so I'm guessing tomorrow will be more of the same. But at some point, you just have to resolve within yourself, what are you going to do? What message are you going to send? And I just have to go with my heart and vote for what I feel is right. Even if at the end of the day, he's not a viable candidate, I'm going to initially go into the process supporting him, because I have to do what I tell other people to do. And I always tell other people to do: list your issues and vote for the person that is on par with your issues. And he is. At the end of the day, I just want everyone to vote. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. That wasn't a big rant to tell you who to vote for. It's just why I'm doing what I'm doing. Yes, I do still support Warren. I do believe that at the end of the day, that's probably where my vote will go. Miracles can still happen. But if Tom Steyer does not become a viable candidate and I have to move to another space in the gym, then my next space is going to be to go with Warren. Watching the debate on Wednesday night, I believe it was, I'm not even sure why Klobuchar is still in the race. If she wasn't in the race, maybe Tom Steyer would be doing a little better, but she's taken a handful of votes, probably just enough away to keep him from being viable. And I don't even get the thrill. I hadn't heard any of her policies or heard her speak before, but she really looked to me like someone sitting at a kid's table trying to be heard over all the adults. And people saying, oh, don't you see adults talking? Shut up. That's what it felt like watching her. Like, she just had no impact whatsoever. And I didn't understand why she was there. I like Joe Biden. Obviously, he worked in the Obama administration. I believe that he would bring back a lot of things that got taken away. And I believe that he would expand on a lot of things that were done in the Obama administration. However, I've always just seen Joe Biden as our crazy Uncle Joe. Like, he's fun to watch and he's entertaining to listen to, but do I want him to be my president? I'm not sure. Sometimes he gets up to talk and I start to cringe, because you don't know what might happen to fly out of his mouth. And that is not necessarily the image I want around the world. He's lovable, though. He's lovable, and I believe world leaders love him, and it could go well. I just don't have a whole lot of confidence in Joe Biden. Warren, of course, I love her. Economy has always been her baby. If you followed her for any length of times, and I've watched her, Congress sessions and speeches and different things for years, economy has always been her baby. And that's important too. The economy is important. Immigration is important. Race relations is important. It is all important. We have a lot going on in this country, but none of it is going to matter if we can't breathe. And that's just my bottom line. Like, yes, it's all important and it's on everybody's mind, but, immigration, economy, all of that is not going to matter in 10 years if we don't start doing something. And it honestly, and she does have a green plan and a blue plan, and they're both really good. I wish that she was a lot more vocal about it. I don't care how sexy it is or not. I don't care if it's what people want to hear about or not. It's what they should be listening to. She does have a great plan to try to save the oceans and the environment, but hers is one of those kind of 2050 plans. I wish that she had a more aggressive plan that dealt with the next 10 years. And that's where I feel like Tom has an edge over her. And I feel like there's another candidate in there somewhere, and I'm just not thinking about it. Klobuchar, Steyer, Warren, Biden. I feel like there's a lot of people watching. Somebody tell me who else is in the race. I'm not mentioning Bloomberg because he's not on our ballot. He is buying votes for Super Tuesday. So Bloomberg is not an issue for us here in Nevada. He chose not to campaign in our states because he pretty much feels that he has the votes locked up. He's paid a lot of money to, over the past 3 years, he's been sending a lot of money to different cities, and he's been getting a lot of mayor endorsements because of that. So he feels that when you have a black mayor jump up and say, I'm going for Bloomberg, all the black people in that city are going to go for Bloomberg too. And he feels like he doesn't need to worry about these early states during these caucuses. So he's not in my radar. I feel like there was still another candidate, though. I'm not addressing them because I can't remember them. So that just tells you where they are in the voting ranks as far as I'm concerned. Oh, Bernie Sanders. That's who it is. Hello. Is anybody watching? Do y'all follow politics? Nobody's responding to me. Bernie Sanders. I don't know what it is about him, but he just gets under my skin. And so do a lot of his supporters. He and his supporters just feel so extreme to me. I'm honestly surprised that he made it past the heart attack. I don't know. He's just always so excitable, and he makes me nervous. I don't know if he will live through a presidency term. If he didn't, who are you thinking your running mate might be? Somebody jumped up on my timeline and said Sanders Clinton ticket, and I was like, I really don't think that's the writing on the wall. I think we're done with Clinton. I don't know. I'm not feeling the burn. Now, I love what he says about student loans, obviously, because I have a ton of them. And if you want to do something for the people in student loan debt, that'd be great. For the people that say, oh, just pay your bills, there's a lot of countries out there that manage to offer free education to their residents. We have made it so privatized, and the rates are so astronomical. That needs to be reined in. It just does. You can't say on the one hand, you don't really care that you've got people in student loan debt, and then on the other hand wonder why the economy is growing. You've got people 30, 35 years old who's still living at home with their parents. They can't afford to even move out. They can't afford to buy a house. They can't afford to start a family. So you got to make some change somewhere, and that's where Bernie and Warren are coming from. Like, they understand that this crisis, student loans are like a noose around some people's necks, especially if you go to the ranks of a doctorate, a lawyer, a master's degree. You're looking at easily $150,000, $200,000 in student loan debt, like a house note without the house. And then they expect you to try to go out and buy a house. It's crazy. So yes, I applaud those that are saying curb in the student loan debt, because you're never going to truly revitalize the economy when you've told all of these young people who are now going to college and who are now voting age and who are going to college at the tune of $50,000 a year for undergrad. And you can't get anything with a bachelor's degree these days, so they're going to have to get a master's or a doctorate. You can't look at them and say, yeah, you're going to be riddled with debt, but we need you to pay into the economy. Pay what? They paying back the government on these student loans with high interest rates. If there was at least no interest rate on the loan, that would help. It's crazy that people are paying 3, 4, some even more % interest to the government for going to school. I'm going to start telling everybody, go to Germany, go for free. Go to Italy, go for free. Like, there's countries that you can move to and go for free, because this is crazy. And I tell every young person I know, try to go for free. So, so that's where Bernie and Warren are coming from, and I get it. But still, Bernie, I'm not feeling the burn. I don't know. He's just too extreme. He feels extreme to me. And I don't think he tries to come off that way. I love what he says about healthcare. I love what he says about, Medicare. I love what he says about student loans. It's the way he says everything. He's so excitable. He's so over the top, and he feels so extreme. He doesn't get my attention, but he's got a ton of young people's attention. And the problem is, when he's not the nominee and those young people that get pissed, they either don't vote because they've lost hope in the system, or they throw away their vote. Because we as a society don't collectively vote for a no-name or a liberal, even though that might be a better choice. Or they just write in Mickey Mouse or something crazy, So at that point, when they don't get what they want, then the voting process becomes a joke. And that's where we lose some of these delegates, and we see the crazy things with the electoral college vote and all of that. So yes, a large part of me not supporting him, he can't rein in his supporters. He can't stand and say, okay, I'm putting my weight behind, you need to do this too, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. All of them are too extreme. And we're just in a place right now where we all need to find a middle ground. we just all need to come together, look in our heart. I think even some of the Trump supporters, like, I get that you want to be extremely racist and you're applauding his racism or whatever, but, I'm also a tax attorney. taking calls on a regular basis from people who are farmers saying, well, what happened to the exemption I used to have? What happened to my deduction? What happened to this? What happened to that? And I'm like, well, with the new administration, unfortunately, I hate to tell you, but this is no longer available for you. Or I get people calling me who are W-2 salaried truck drivers who lost all of their deductions, and they're like, I don't get mileage, I don't get meals, and I'm like, well, I can't tell you who to vote for. However, with the new administration that we now have, this year you're going to feel it, and next year you're going to feel it more. So maybe some people need to start putting hate aside and deciding to vote for somebody else or something. You might just want to consider it. But at this point, regardless of who you voted for, whatever side of the line you stand on for whatever the line is, you need to look at your daily life and the impact that these decisions have. And I'm hoping that people will start feeling the pains of this administration and start to look somewhere else. And then we as Democrats, we should have had a stronger candidate. I'm not floored by any of them, but hopefully we'll get more supporters, just in the fact that a lot of people are suffering more than they were suffering before, because Trump, of course, didn't deliver on a lot of promises that he made to get elected. So that is my spiel. I see quite a few people watching. Yay! Feel free to comment. I'd love to know, who are you guys voting for? If you want to divulge that, or what are your thoughts on politics overall? Are you caucusing tomorrow? And again, pack your patience. It doesn't start till noon. You could be there for a couple hours. If you are in some very diverse area where there's a whole lot of personalities and a whole lot of thoughts and people spread out pretty evenly, could be a showdown. Some people have said they've gone to caucuses before and there have been fights there. So I'm going camera ready for sure. But I would love to hear other people's thoughts. Are you caucusing? Take people with you. Take a snack. Take whatever you need to do. And unfortunately, I can't make it tonight, and this was not a deciding factor for me. But for those of you who are interested, Tom Steyer is having a rally tonight, some industrial park somewhere not far from the Stratosphere. TLC is headlining, and that's kind of huge. First of all, this is the first time he's ever had like a celebrity rally for him. Probably should have done this a long time ago, and we don't get to see TLC that often. So unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it tonight because I already have some commitments, and I don't think I can get out of them. But for those of you who are interested, I think the doors open at 5:15. The show starts at 6:15, but anyway, so let's see. Harold Bell, how are you? Hi, gorgeous. I just love your pictures. I just look at your page and just look at your hair because it's so glamorous. My niece Candace is watching from Rochester. Hello, hope you and the kids are well. Graham from Australia is watching. I got to meet Graham last week when he happened to be in town from Australia. Hi, Stephen. How are you? Hoping you are well, hoping you're taking your whole family tomorrow to caucus. Take your wife, take your kids, take church members, show your kids what the process is like. Take 3 or 4 church members with you. Michelle from the Philippines is watching. I want to meet you in person so bad. You're just so awesome. Jessica from Texas is watching. I don't even know how we're related. My godmother's son, so I guess is kind of my godbrother. Hi, Brian. How are you? Enjoy retired life. Be sure you all are watching the news tomorrow. I'm sure there will be a showdown somewhere here in Las Vegas. Reno, they probably all on the same wavelength up there. But for here in Las Vegas, there'll probably be some kind of showdown. So look for Clark County News tomorrow just to see what happens. I'm excited to see what happened. I'm in Seven Hills. Probably not going to be any showdowns down in here. But for those of you, I don't know, Central Las Vegas, they have some polling places on the Strip. That should be fun. I wish I could go to one of those. But when you are caucusing on the caucus day, you do have to go to the place that is closest to your residence. So I'm going to be down here in Henderson, but I will definitely be watching my news feed just to see if anything is popping off anywhere else. And if I hear of a fight, I'm going to be like, dang, I hate I missed it. Not that I want people fighting, but this just makes it kind of fun, right? We are very passionate. We should be passionate about who we're voting for. We've seen good leadership. We've seen bad leadership. What do you want your history to be? And where do you want to stand? and tell your children, I stood on this side of history. I tried to make a right decision. I tried to vote for whatever, or I just voted for hate. Like, where do you want to be? So anyway, I don't see any more. Oh, Sandra, yes, my son says no children. His partner seems to be on board. She is only 26. Okay, so right now you got people in their mid-20s saying no children right now. I don't know if cost is the factor or environment is the factor or what the actual factors are, but your son and his partner, not alone. A lot of young people are saying no children, no house, no. They're saying no to a lot of things because they simply can't afford it. That's really sad, but that's where we, quote unquote, the greatest country in the world, stand right now. So I'm going to let you guys go. And I will likely do a video tomorrow or Sunday morning to let you know how my caucus played out. And if you are in Las Vegas, if you know someone in Las Vegas, please encourage them to vote. Get out and vote. This is where your vote really, really matters. Like if everybody banded together and said, I want Steyer, you know what? We'd have him and he'd be on the next debate stage. So look at your platforms, look at your issues, look at the different candidates, what's important to you, and go there and cast your vote and see how the process plays out, because everybody should see how the process plays out. And that's all I have. Bye.